Hello and welcome to CMS Forex News. I'm your market analyst Nick Nassad. Today is Tuesday, June 30th, 2009. The euro-dollar pair advanced to set a high near 1.4150 overnight, but then fell to the 1.40 level in New York trading as the greenback strengthened on the back of risk aversion and quarter-end flows. The turnaround in sentiment came as equity markets in Europe and the US fell sharply lower, and consumer confidence data from the US surprised heavily on the downside. That reawakened worries about risk and the outlook for the global economy. In data from the Eurozone, prices fell 0.1% in June, preliminary data showed. That is the first annual decline of consumer prices since records began in 1996. The decline is led by the 50% decline in the price of oil in the past year, which has lowered energy costs. The data does not suggest that the Eurozone is heading for deflation, as the dip into negative territory is likely temporary. However, soft inflation will keep the ECB from increasing interest rates anytime soon. The UK, meanwhile, released its nationwide house price index, which showed prices up 0.9% on the month in June. That figure surprised forecasts on the upside and builds on the positive trend seen over the last several months. On the year, prices were still down 9.3%, but it's the first time since July of 2008 that the annual decline has been in single digits. The final version of UK's first quarter GDP surprised markets on the downside, falling 2.4% compared to the preliminary and revised versions, which saw growth contract at 1.9%. The new figure is the biggest contraction since 1958. One of the main reasons for the revision was a much bigger slump in construction at negative 6.9% than first reported. The pound-dollar pair had a very volatile session in today's trading as it breached the resistance level that has held most of this month, pushing up to the 1.6742 level, an 8-month high. The pound reached its high in the wake of its housing prices data, but retreated after the disappointing revised version of its first quarter GDP. From its high, the pair slid nearly 300 pips to set a low back inside its sideways range around 1.6420. The weak GDP data pressured the pound against the euro as well. From a one-week low near 0.8435 at the start of the European session, the euro-pound pair reversed its fall and rose to post a new high for this week at 0.8535, a 100-pip rally. Turning to U.S. data, housing prices in the 20 metropolitan areas in the U.S., as measured by Standard & Poor's, were down negative 18.1% on the year. Though that remains deep in negative territory, it is an improvement on March's data. A second release from the U.S. showed consumer confidence unexpectedly sliding. The Conference Board Index fell to 49.3 for the June period from 54.8 in May, sharply undershooting forecasts. Both the present situation and future expectation subgauges fell. The release helped to intensify the risk aversion in New York trading, which boosted the greenback. Stocks in Europe and in the US were down sharply today, which, as we've mentioned before, boosted the prospects of the greenback. The dollar-yen pair was caught up in the general greenback strength, following a 90-pip slide to the 95.30 area in overnight trading. Today's high retests the level seen last Thursday. The greenback also retested its high from last Thursday against the Canadian dollar. Most of the rally here came in the New York morning session, as the consumer confidence data from the U.S. soured the mood of any risk appetite, which had been pushing the pair down to the 1.15 level. Oil prices fell below the $70 a barrel level as well. And data from Canada was also weak. Canadian GDP contracted 0.1% on the month in April, following a 0.3% decrease in March and a 0.1% drop in February. Declines in manufacturing, the energy sector, and retail trade were the main contributors to the April decrease. A second release showed producer prices down 1.1% in May, a decrease that was larger than expected. The main reason for the decrease was the appreciation of the Canadian dollar against the greenback. Tonight, Japan posts its Tankan Manufacturing Index, an important quarterly measure of both the manufacturing and services sectors. Australia, meanwhile, releases its manufacturing PMI, its retail sales, and a measure of building approvals. Overnight, Germany posts its retail sales. Both the Eurozone and the UK post manufacturing PMI data, and the UK also reveals its Halifax measure of housing prices. Tomorrow, the US unveils its ADP employment change, the ISM Manufacturing Index, a measure of pending home sales, and data on construction spending. And that wraps up today's coverage of the Forex markets. Thank you for watching us here at cmsfx.com, and happy trading.